You're watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the February 28th meeting of the Long Beach Town Council Special Meeting. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
He just came on. Okay, welcome everybody to the special meeting of the Long Beach Town Council. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, as far as opening comments, I just want to make one addition to the agenda. After consideration of resolution, the next agenda item will be annual financial report. That's it for opening remarks. New business. So I want to open the public hearing regarding the proposed lease between Long Beach Public Building Corporation, which is the lessor, and the town of Long Beach, which is the lessee. Chris, you have?
I just wanted to make sure that it is noted for the record that publication as required was published in the local newspaper, and you should have presented to you, and Mr. Wall can chime in if necessary, the signatures. We received a petition from taxpayers. It's a petition of taxpayers that are in favor of the lease and the subject matter of tonight's public hearing. In this public hearing, those who would like to speak for and against have the opportunity to be heard during this meeting, and that petition, along with all the other documents, will be on file with the clerk's office.
Okay, so open up to people who want to speak for the proposed lease. Open up for people who want to speak against the proposed lease.
Amen.
Ernest Summers, 2711 Elbridge Way. I am not against it by itself. I am concerned that we've already passed a proposal that was done in December that there would be up to $2.5 million for the town to construct the thing. And now it looks like we're moving in the direction of a conveyance of the property and becoming a lessee of the property that we now own. And I think we're at a fork in the road. We ought to pick one fork and put the other one on hold or withdraw it, but we shouldn't have both on the books at the same time. That's my only comment.
Other comments? Bob?
Hi, Bob Boyce, Stop 29th. Now that we've bought into this, where the town is going to have a new fire station, we're going to have new trucks. I'm just wondering what we're going to do as far as the firemen. 30% of the firemen in the volunteer fire department are over the age of 60. 3 of them are over the age of 70. By the time this whole thing is paid off, most of them in this age bracket are going to be in assisted living or the Marble Orchard. So I'm not sure exactly where we're going with this. I'd like to know what benefit this will all be if we're not going to change the structure of the fire department itself. Thank you.
Any other comments against? Okay, Chris, so what's the next step of the public hearing?
You can close the public unless there's anybody online that...
Oh, anybody online? I guess I didn't look in there. All right, we'll close the public hearing then. And that's it for the public hearing, is that right? Okay, next agenda item.
Well, so what we're going to do, and as part of this, is making a determination with regard to entering the lease and authorizing execution of that lease.
So we need a motion.
Yes.
I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it, John Wall.
Discussion.
And I just want to reiterate, and most mostly for the public, what you're accomplishing here. You're setting up this building corporation, right? This building corporation is a statutory mechanism by which the town can finance. So the property, the building, they will be owned by this corporation pursuant to the terms of the lease that have been on file with the clerk's office, that have, been submitted previously for review to the public, to the council. So by the nature of determining that this lease is necessary and then approving execution of that lease, that allows you to take the next step. Nothing is final until you approve and you get your financing, right? Even the contract that we will discuss some more, there still has to be a determination on the mechanism by which you're going to finance this. However, this is the next step in the timeline to move forward to bringing that project to fruition. So that is the nature and the process of going through to approve. Last meeting we approved the former lease, now you have the lease before you, based on the numbers and figures that have been provided for you by Mr. Sender, and then we will post the notice in the newspaper, and then you have a resolution to consider as well.
Okay, so I'll call for the vote. John Wall.
In favor?
John Coker.
In favor?
Mike Johnstone.
Aye.
Mary Lou.
Aye.
And I'm in favor. All right, that passed unanimously. Next agenda. Consideration of resolution approving the building corporation, determining need, authorizing execution of lease, authorizing the sale of certain real estate, and approving the issuance of bonds and related matters. Chris?
So this resolution, again, is another of the a long list of items that need to be done. The resolution in this agenda item doesn't include, there's flexibility within the resolution because there is still a decision to be made because of your due diligence as a council, inquiring as to which is the more viable option in terms of a loan or bonds. So the resolution provides you that option, and approval of this resolution will allow you to take the next steps necessary again to put the building corporation into a position where it can move forward, and this council at a later date can make a decision with regard to the method of financing.
Okay. So we need a motion.
You do.
So I'll make a motion to approve this. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? John Wall.
In favor?
John Coker.
In favor?
Mike Johnstone.
Aye.
Mary Lou.
Aye.
And I'm in favor.
And then on the heels of that, I need to give me some direction if you're inclined. Something that needs to happen for the next meeting is to authorize me to publish notice of we already have set, if you incline, notice of the determination and need for this project, and then a notice, then there'll be a public hearing at the next meeting of the town council, the regular meeting, with regard to an additional appropriation. And that will all be presented prior to that meeting, but we have to give notice in the newspaper that there will be a public meeting on that subject matter. I just need that authorization to publish notice for the additional appropriation at the next meeting.
So I would make that motion to give you notice, or to have you give notice. Is there a second?
Second.
John Wall.
I'm in favor.
John Coker.
I'm in favor.
Mike Johnstone.
Aye.
Mary Lou.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, next agenda item, annual financial report. There was an annual financial report that this is the thing that I had.
Oh, okay.
That the clerk treasurer's office was to have sent downstate. The deadline was midnight tonight. That deadline will come and go, and we will not have it down there. I understand that there's 2-day extension that we can get. However, in talking to Bill Defuniak, this report has taken him a couple of weeks to put together. This was not a surprise to the clerk treasurer's office. This was something I'm sure they talked about when he attended the education meetings about being a clerk treasurer when he was first appointed to the position. He's been reminded by his secretary repeatedly of it. today, or I'm sorry, repeatedly of it for the last month. He hasn't started on it. When informed today that it was not done, he went home. This clerk treasurer is not interested in the job. He's not qualified for the job. I don't think he's interested in the well-being of the town of Long Beach. Ramifications of us not getting this downstate and meeting the deadline are that the town can make no additional appropriations. This will put, if this is not done, this will put our public safety building in jeopardy because we have to come up with the money for this at some point. Maybe not with a loan, but still even to just pay for the loan or for the rent. Park department money was not appropriated put in the budget for them. We were going to make appropriations to them, not necessarily now, but at some point. That won't be able to happen until then. And that is a question I have for you, Chris. This not being able to make appropriations, can they use money from previous years?
I'm not certain of the question. Is there?
The park department is not going to have enough money to do the things that we've pretty well promised them that they can do because the money wasn't put in the budget. And we can't make additional appropriations. Can they use money they have in their account from previous years?
Well, I believe they can, but I will touch base with the clerk.
Okay.
To make sure and be in a position. What is their timing on that?
I don't know when they're going to want to.
Before your next meeting, I will be able to talk to and work out with the clerk.
Okay. Okay. We're going to discuss later this iWorkQ, this software for the building department. That will require an outlay. That money we can't appropriate.
When you say clerk, do you mean our clerk?
Yes.
Okay.
If this isn't done by June, the town will get no June tax deposits, meaning the town will basically grind to a halt. I have no confidence that he'll have it done by June, but I don't know. Who knows? The fact that he's not here tonight is sort of evidence that we're not getting a lot of communication. And not on Zoom, by the way. And frankly, from what I understand, that this automatically triggers an audit, which I think may be a good thing. In fact, I feel that given what we've seen of this clerk treasurer's performance, we as a council should request an audit from the State Board of Accounts. I have no confidence in what's going on in that treasurer's office. I would also further suggest that we have a vote of no confidence for this clerk treasurer and request his resignation, and I'll make that as a motion. Actually, there's two motions. One, whether to request an audit of the State Board of Accounts would be my first motion.
I second that motion.
So we should have discussion about that.
I think I understand the circumstances completely. I think also I would suggest we add to that this become an annual process as a review in particular of significant value for any new administration coming in, that the financials have been audited. So I would tag on to that motion that we make this an annual process.
Okay, now we're talking about asking the State Board of Accounts for that audit.
Oh, actually, this could be a third-party organization of our choosing also. Doesn't have to be
I guess
the state.
Yeah, I guess my thought would be for right now, we can certainly discuss this, but given where we're at and our concerns, and the fact that we were audited a year ago and specific recommendations were made, which I know for a fact have not been followed, I think this first audit we've got a request from the State Board of Accounts. That's my thought.
I understand that, and maybe what we do on that is we add a second motion after this one's acted on that makes this an annual process for a third-party organization of our choosing.
Okay, now I know Helen, are you on there?
She just came on.
Okay, so Helen, I just suggested this audit from the State Board of Accounts. I know you had some opinions about that. You want to share those with us?
Well, the State Board of Accounts, they'll come back in and they'll look at our balances, they're gonna look at internal controls. We've been working with them, extensively. I call them all the time to get clearance on, should we do this or that? Is this appropriate now? So we've been working with them to get things done. The things that are holding back are getting, I don't have authorization to put the statements in for the annual year. They're done. I've been on this with the treasurer for a month because I'm now authorized to go in and put this data in. I'm now authorized to go to Civic and say, do this, and this. So I get held up because Tim's the clerk treasurer, and he has to say, yeah, it's okay to do work with Helen and get this done. We will get dinged again for what the town council signed. Either way, they're going to come in and do an audit. I know how to manage audits. I've been on both sides of that fence. Our financial data is pretty accurate. Phil has come in and we closed up a lot of things at year end together. It's the council's choice. It's just getting things organized and getting the work done and just functioning. That's what we need to do. We need some leadership.
Dr. Lemay?
Yeah.
If I could suggest an amendment. I don't want to dissuade you from the audit that you're contemplating, but I would suggest to you that, given that the audit won't happen before your next regular meeting, that we might want to authorize and have somebody from the council or the clerk's office and or town administrator make sure that you guys all understand and make an informed decision on the ramifications of that, the cost, what that cost is going to be, and the timing. Certainly as Mr. Johnstone, you can certainly retain a professional, you could retain Carl Sender, you could retain anybody to do as you're discussing, but unless you feel the need that you need to approve that tonight, my strong suggestion would be to make sure you understand the ramifications of requesting that audit, because they're not insignificant financially if you request that and they perform their services.
Dr. Lemay, if I may add just a couple of points. Going back, what we're talking about tonight is obviously we're talking about state reporting that is important to the Department of Labor and Government Finance and or the oversight by the State Board of Accounts. A month ago, I alerted the council on January 31st of another state required report, and that was the 100R report that is reported in Gateway. Every year, every municipal, town, and city must report the employee compensation to the state of Indiana. The report was due on January 31st. I was alerted that our clerk treasurer, on the very last day, just then began to prepare to submit the report. We all know what happens when we wait till the last minute to submit things, is that errors occur. So I was alerted that 2 employees were asked to complete the 100R report in his absence, instead of him submitting the report, but eventually he did submit the report. So that evening, I took it upon myself as the town administrator to go on to the state site, well, it was the next day. And when I reviewed the 100R report that was submitted on behalf of the town of Long Beach, I found some omissions. There were 7 employees that were left off the report. I brought it to the attention of the clerk treasurer. The report has since then been corrected. But my point is, when we wait to the last minute and we pass deadlines, errors occur, and it puts the town in a bad light financially. Crossroads Bank, just in recent weeks, attempts to contact the clerk treasurer's office through email and voicemail. No avail, reaches out to my office as the town administrator, asking that I send a letter on the town's behalf seeking the reimbursement of escrow funds that were owed to the town, just shy of $1,400 for the previous purchase of 2 vehicles. I submitted the letter to request the funds be returned. The funds have since then been returned, but this should have been performed by the clerk treasurer's office. And in fact, Barry Grossman from Crossroads Bank, when he reached out to me, said that he was unsuccessful in making contact and getting return calls from the clerk treasurer, therefore I had to complete that as well. In recent weeks, we've sent out checks to vendors that should not have been paid. We've had to recall those checks. One was in the sum of $2,200, another one for $289, and we've now been alerted that the $289 that was sent out will not be refunded and the town has out those funds. So I've been asked in previous meetings by the council to work extremely close with the town clerk treasurer. I've made attempts to do so. I have spoke to our clerk treasurer about his absence in the office. I have spoke to him about the overall leadership and management of the office as well. He has assured me that he would make corrective action, his attendance would improve, and that the internal controls would be improved. And to this date, as your town administrator, I can inform you that those steps have not been completed. I know Carl Sender's on with us tonight, and I'm certain Dr. LeMay, he could probably elaborate a little bit more about the AFR report, which is the annual financial report that's due to the state. I know you've touched on some of the ramifications, but my 31 years in governmental service, this is a serious oversight and could affect possibly our bond rating in the future, could take us from, let's say we're a current A+ rating, could take us down to a C, who knows? But again, the town of Long Beach has always been in a great financial standing, and I have serious concerns moving forward for this town if this type of behavior continues. Thank you.
May I put one thing in? On the report that Chief was speaking about, we have the correct backup, and all the backup for every report is saved. Along with all the reports and soft copies and everything. All the data is there. The issue occurred with the input at the state level. I did contact the state when Chief told us about 7 people missing because we were locked, and there was a problem at the state system level that it may or may not have caused 7 people to go missing, but it definitely, we didn't have the right data. It was the input at that point, which I or the other person put in. So, but we did get that corrected as soon as Chief alerted. I called that state. We have a pretty good rapport with the state as far as reporting and getting questions and clarifications on things before I start creating reports out there. So we do not have a negative reflection as a town ourselves. We've got a good rapport with the State Board of Accounts and the state reporting system and their management system there, and I'd like to see that continue. That's all, okay?
Excellent. Carl, can you talk a little bit about the ramifications of us missing the deadline for that annual financial report?
Sure. I think it's been mentioned before that the state has a policy that the annual report, I believe the due date is actually March 1st. And so if we do not submit the annual report, we will not get our additional appropriations approved. And if it's not submitted by June, then we may not get our property tax distributions either. Now, the annual report, if the books have been balanced and closed for the year, it should not be that difficult. It probably in a matter of a week or so could be, the information could be input. I believe our office is also offered to help assist in that process if need be, or even to review the report before it's submitted. But, you know, the report can be filed. Probably the biggest ramification, if it is filed late, is it becomes an audit. It could become an audit comment in the audit report.
So an audit's not automatically triggered, it would just be a comment in the report when we do get audited?
Correct.
Okay, I was mistaken. Okay.
Yeah.
So, just in terms of the motion to actually try to have an audit right now, I think if I understand Chris's comments correctly, and even what Carl said, perhaps it would be best if we concentrated our efforts in the near term on getting this report filed, and then spend some time on, with some input from people like Carl on whether requesting an audit is the proper avenue to take. Carl, I'm on the opinion that we may not be able to have an outside auditor per se, like we may have with a commercial venture. So maybe that when I'm done, but the cost of the audit, Mike, I appreciate your sentiments in terms of trying to get the books audited, but if the SPOA is coming in this year anyway, maybe we can find that out, then maybe that process is already in play.
I just like the aggressive approach. If we make our own determinations on that, rather than waiting for the state to come in. I think it's a very proactive process, and that's why I'm suggesting it, rather than reactive.
Mary Lou, do you remember what it cost us last time when we were audited?
I do. When we had the problem in the water department with the embezzlement, if I remember, that side of the water department was like, I think the town had 10,000 and we had at least that much. I see Laurel on there because we had, so it's expensive, but we needed to document it before anybody else stepped in and was accused of the embezzlement. So it's not pretty.
If I recall, Mary Lou, yeah, the town was around 6,000, and I think the water department was approaching 17,000, so it was over a $20,000 expenditure. That, keep in mind, now that was just the SPOA's, deal to the town, so to speak. It wasn't, that was just their number of hours times their hourly rate that got us to that dollar amount.
Correct.
Carl, speak about who can and can't water the town.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna state that, an audit is done for internal controls and to, determine reasonableness. As it stands right now, I do not believe there's any money missing anywhere. Everything balanced out. There were things that, under a lot of guidance were taken and straightened up. So when you have to audit, they're expensive. And you have to have a scope of what it is and what you're trying to achieve here. If it's lack of internal controls, that's an easy thing Carl can attest to that. I can attest to that. Chief can attest to that. As far as financial issues, there's nothing that anybody's done to incur what happened before with someone walking away with cash. There's a lot of oversight with cash between Deanna and myself trying to lock on everything and cross-checking. So that part, I really don't have any concern about. It's just not having leadership there to help authorize and get things completed. That's the biggest problem, or not getting things completed because the person who's authorized to do that isn't there.
Carl, do you concur with Helen's comments? Anything more to add?
Well, the state board, they come in and review the internal controls, but they also opine on the town's balances. So they do some limited financial review of the town's financials and will express an opinion. I may want to just follow up on this idea of hiring an outside auditor. Presently in the state of Indiana, you would have to get the State Board of Accounts permission to bring in an outside audit firm. And in some cases, they will allow that, but they may not in this particular case. I know for some of the larger second-class cities who are really trying to do what's called a GAAP audit, generally accepted accounting principles audit, those communities who have been working with an outside consultant to get them GAAP compliant, they have, in some cases, have allowed communities to hire outside auditors just because the State Board of Accounts doesn't have time. So we're kind of at the State Board's mercy. You could go ahead and, one, if you feel like you need an audit done, you can still follow up and contact them and request that they do an audit. They may or may not do one at this time based on what the facts that you present to them are. But you're not able to, on your own, just go out and seek an independent third-party auditor. Now, you can do, as Helen said, you can contract other firms, you can contract with us or other firms on specific internal control procedures and policies, or to review certain account balances. That would be more like an agreed-upon procedures engagement. There's no prohibition in doing that. But I've been told by the State Board in the past when I've had other entities try to do their own audits that if they proceed without getting state input, blessing, or approval, that the State Board may charge the elected officials personally with those expenses. So I don't mean to put fear in you, but I just thought you should at least know the facts that as I understand them.
So if we were to ask for
Would
an
it be
audit,
better,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, would it be better to have some more conversation, maybe more than just Helen, if we want to get some comfort level with where we sit? If a couple of us and Helen had some conversations with the State Board of Accounts, or maybe a couple of us and Helen and Carl had some conversations with the State Board of Accounts, and you know, during that same time frame, and I don't want to push this off any farther than we have to, but if indeed Helen's correct and the books are in relatively good order, then the audit's not going to prove too much out. But at least if we had some conversation with the SBOA, we could get some comfort level where we sit in terms of the documentation.
I think that might be a reasonable approach. John, would you be willing to have a conversation with State Board of Accounts along with Helen and Carl?
I would, if Mike, like, you know, Mike and I have been running excuse my, there's the words there. Mike and I have been involved with budget and finance pretty significantly, not to exclude anybody else, but I think if we had, you know, the two of us and maybe Carl and Helen would have some sort of conversation, if Carl thinks that's of benefit with SBOA, give a little bit of a background on why we have some concerns, some of the things Mike spoke about, maybe that would be, you know, a short-term interim solution rather than jumping into requesting the audit.
I guess if we're to do that, I'd want to make sure that this is a recurring agenda item. Can we make sure that this State Board of Account audit question mark is on the agenda for next month's meeting? Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
All right. So we actually have a motion on the floor to have the audit. I think I've changed my mind. It's been seconded. I think I've kind of changed my mind. Is hearing the discussion. So we'll go through the roll call vote. John Wall?
Well, just to clarify, if this motion is to hire an outside one, I don't think we need it.
No. This motion is to not, to defeat the.
You can just withdraw it.
You know what, I'll just withdraw my motion. How's that? Better.
If
You
Mr.
withdraw
Johnson
your
doesn't have any
Yes.
objection, then
Okay.
Withdraw.
All right. So it's going to be an agenda
I
item.
would be more comfortable if it was John Wall and Mike Johnstone and Carl Sender.
Do we think we need expertise? I think we need some expertise as to what's going on in that department. And
Okay,
I don't think they have enough expertise to know, particularly as far as the lack of the internal controls.
okay.
Because I think Helen is more aware of that. She can attest to the financials being in order, I guess, too, but I mean, this is just discussion. So
Okay.
I don't, you know, it's not like any decisions are going to get made, and then they'll report back to us at the next meeting.
Dr. May,
Yeah,
this is Laurel.
Yeah.
I would like to be involved with that committee also.
anybody have any objection to that?
No,
No.
Okay. All right, so the motion, so motion to have, I'll make a motion to have you 5, 6,
So four. So
Four.
Laurel, Carl,
Helen, and John Wall, and then Carl Sensek.
Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
John Wall?
Yeah, I'm in favor, so I think we have is our correct number, it's myself, Laurel, Carl, Ellen, and Mike.
correct.
Yes. Got it, I'm in favor.
So 5.
John Coker?
I'm in favor.
Mike Johnson?
Aye.
Mary Lou?
Aye.
And I'm in favor. All right, next motion I'd like to make a motion that this town council go on record as having no confidence in our clerk treasurer and that we request his resignation. Is there a second?
I second that.
Discussion?
My only comment is this necessary? I mean, what effect is it gonna have, Chris? None.
There is no legal ramification to it, it's just a message from the council.
Yeah, I think the big problem here is that he's not performing. I mean, I don't think we need a motion for it, it's obvious he's not performing, he's not here. You know, I don't know what else you can do.
Yeah, I would like the council to be on record as being abhorred at his behavior and his job performance.
Well, I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, well, I know I've tried to make it obvious, but I'd like it to be on record as a motion, and I'd like it to be on record that I'd like it to be a unanimous decision of the council. So there's a motion, a second, any other discussion? John Wall?
Oh, I guess I'll be in favor.
John Coker?
I suppose that's what you want to do, it's a waste of time, so.
Mike Johnstone?
Aye.
Mary Lou?
Aye.
I'm in favor. Okay. Next agenda item. Consideration approval of public safety building contract with Holiday Construction. So we've got that contract.
Yeah, and since the last meeting, you authorized John and John did most of the heavy lifting. He's in contact with Holiday. They made the changes there weren't very many material changes, and updated, well, you guys had some clarification with regard to what the contract amount is. I did have some discussion with Mr. Johnstone in general. He had some questions about the contract. And if you are inclined, again, we're on this timeline and we have all of these parallel decisions being made, but you haven't decided on the method. You know that you're going to get financed, and you have two paths that you're pursuing, so that if you're going to approve this, and again, there weren't objections as to anything other than the changes we proposed prior to that last meeting and discussed, you could approve this and subject to the final decision being made with regard to the form of financing. So it would approve it, would allow us to keep going forward, and it would show Holiday a sign of good faith that we are moving forward, because they've taken some leaps in good faith as well of moving forward with this. So those are your next steps, and not being able to appropriate money and do those things may bring it all to a grinding halt anyway, but hopefully that's not the case. So just to address those concerns about financing, is you can approve it again, just to make sure everybody's clear. Approve it, but subject to execution being subject to choosing what the method of financing. Does that address? I don't want to speak for Mr. Johnstone, but I think that was the nature of our conversation earlier. And then it brings everything in as close of alignment we can be without having a final form of financing.
Agreed. And I just wanted to make sure that we don't execute an agreement or a contract without having the financing finalized.
Yep, I'll make that
And
motion.
that can't happen, we cannot wait on the process, if when you say financing finalized, the bond schedule is showing.
Well, hold on, so I want to make sure that we're speaking apples to apples. Nothing is going to be done, but you don't have a decision as to which method. Are you using bonds or a loan? So that's the discussion, is a decision being made on the form of financing. You can still approve this contract.
No, I agree, Chris, but right now, we had notice to proceed, we've got materials coming, we've got all kinds of progress in terms of design, incurring costs as we speak, and we've committed ourselves to this project. We cannot wait and pull the plug on the project as late April or May when the bond process schedule has been given by Attorney Shanahan.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that. You're gonna, sooner than that, and much sooner than that, have a decision on whether you're going to pursue bonds or whether you're going to take out a loan with Horizon Bank or whatever bank. That is what we are discussing. We're not talking about final approval of bonds and that timeline. We're talking about Mr. Johnstone, for instance, being comfortable that we know how it's getting, the methodology. So it's not the final approval of those bonds because that's a process, but at least having in place for the council, we know that we're taking out a loan or we know that we're going to have bonds. That's it. We're not, it's not subject to the final approval.
Yeah, perhaps I misunderstood Mike's comment.
Okay,
So that's why I wanted to clarify, to make sure we're on the same page. That's it. Because you're going to have that decision on which path very soon.
so I'll make that motion, what Chris said.
That was good.
I would second it.
John Wall,
Favor?
John Coker,
In favor?
Mike Johnstone,
Aye.
Mary Lou,
Aye.
I'm in favor. Okay, so
Horizon Bank.
Horizon Bank.
So my understanding then is we're authorizing Mr. Dr. Levine to sign a contract, is that correct?
Yes, but subject to, you need to make that, yeah, you need to make that decision as you and Mr. Coker finish your due diligence to present to the council of the methodology of how the project's getting financed.
But the contract is allowed to be signed.
It's gonna be signed, but it's not gonna be executed by all parties till you make that decision. It doesn't stop the process here, it allows you to move forward. Dr. LeMay is authorized to sign it, but that contract is subject to having the form of financing approved.
Yeah, absolutely, we have to have the finance, and that's why we're doing it on parallel tracks.
Okay, next agenda item, final decision regarding Horizon Bank account. I thought we did this last month.
No, we haven't done that yet.
Okay, so, thought was is to move a substantial chunk of the town's money to a Horizon interest-bearing account. And I think, Mike, you met with Horizon along with the clerk, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about the account, not the loan at this stage.
Right.
We're not acting on the loan tonight? We are not.
Yeah, this is about that bank, and I
I'm
think we
sorry,
agreed to do that if you thought.
I was wrong, you are correct.
Okay, and I don't think it's been done yet, which is a pattern we're seeing. You know, we decided, I think, at last month's meeting that if you thought this was a good deal, clerk treasurer thought it was a good deal, it was gonna be done, but I understand from Helen it hasn't been done, is that right? I think maybe Helen's not there anymore.
She's there.
Okay,
She moves herself.
okay. So anyway, it hasn't been done, I think we can.
Helen here, no, it has done. With the account, bank has got everything set to go, but I need authorization to work with Civic to, get all the, accounts and coding set up in the Civic system. And that's the big holdup, that's a weekend launch up.
So you're waiting for permission from the clerk treasurer to do that?
He's got to authorize Civic to do it because he spends the money.
Okay.
In other words, we've got contracts.
Not much we can do about that, is there? Okay.
What type of interest rates are they talking about, Ellen? What are we looking at?
It isn't very, well, it moves us to the cloud, gives us an extra $4,092. I can't recall what it'll cost just to help with the coding and make sure the internal
No, I understand there's a cost there, I'm talking about what the bank pays in interest. And then you have a range on that.
Oh, well, every Monday I get an email from the bank, Tim gets it too, and there's a listing of all the rates out there. So overnight funds are sitting at 3.5, and then it goes up if we layer, like with like a CD or something. those rates go up to 4.7.
Yeah, you're not on a ladder, and I understand that, we're losing money every day.
A lot of money every day, because at the end of the day, even if I layer money, we could be bringing in additional cash anywhere between, $40,000 to $80,000 a year, depending on what goes over that.
Helen, do you have a contract for us to look at? For
Do
Civic?
I have a contract?
Yes, for Civic.
Look at the bank? Yes, I do.
No, you said from Civic. Have you requested it and can we see it?
Oh, I don't have a contract. Tim got a contract from them on moving to the cloud and,
No, we're talking about the bank.
exactly. And I asked him to contact Cassandra at Civic, and, I don't believe he's done that.
So would you like me to contact her? I have dealt with her before.
I have to, but he's the one who has to authorize her to do the work in that bill. He's got a signed contract, he's recorded with treasurer.
Okay.
You can call, but it isn't even a matter of, it's just getting Tim to do the work. That's the problem. It isn't the problem with our
Okay.
town.
That's okay, we just needed an answer, that's okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's getting that done.
All right, so we'll get the contract.
Okay, yearly update on the town's financial stability will not be getting tonight. iWork software.
Yes, do we have Chad Larson?
You need to be on the microphone, Lou.
Yeah, come up here.
And as Lou comes up, I just want to advise the council, Dr. LeMay and Mr. Cook are both members of the building commission, and after quite a bit of work from Honor and Lou and Larry Wall, and I don't want to steal all his thunder, they made their presentations to the building commission, and it comes before you tonight with a unanimous vote from the building commission to support entering into contract for the services that are going to greatly, I think, benefit the town, but I'll save the rest for Lou here.
Okay, thanks. Chad, I see you up there on the screen.
Lou, do you want to identify yourself for people in town?
Sure, I'm
Okay.
building inspector Lou Mellon. Chad, are you there? I think you're muted.
He was first on,
Really?
yeah.
Chad, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can now. Good, great.
All right, yeah. All right, yeah, I can hear you guys loud and clear, so go ahead and whenever you guys are ready to let me present just a little, high-level overview of what I have here. I'm sure you guys have the ability to see a screen there.
We've got you on a screen, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna share my screen. Can you guys see where it says iWork up here in the left-hand corner there?
Yes.
Yeah. Here first. Okay. So really, I'm gonna take just a real quick 10-minute overview. So really, just a little bit of company background about iWork. So iWork, we have been in business since 2001. Our sole market focus has always primarily been based on public works and community development applications. And then we were the first on the market to provide a web-based solution specifically for public works and community development applications. We do have a good contingent of customers there in Indiana. We do have 40 plus customers. We're actually improving right up onto 50. These are just a few that I threw on here. But if you guys do want to reach out, I'd be more than happy to reach out to some of these customers here, get some contact information. So you're welcome to ask a few questions, how they like iWork. Quite a few of these big customers of iWork for well over 5 years.
Chad, can I interrupt you for just a second?
Yeah.
Carl, I think you can go. Go enjoy your family, okay?
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
I didn't realize you're still on. Okay, I'm sorry, Chad, go ahead.
Okay, yes, you're fine. So really just a little bit about what sets iWork apart from everybody else. We already see it very successful anywhere you have an internet connection. So if you're working out in the field, whether you're on a tablet, a smartphone, your laptop, you just
log into iWork.net, you're gonna have the exact same systems you have there in the office. Our system is very highly configurable. We do like to say we're an out-of-the-box system, but we can really configure it to really match your guys' process there. We offer unlimited users, so it don't matter if you've got 2 or 30 users, we do not charge any per-seat license fee, so it's not gonna cost any extra to add additional users down the road. Our training and tech support is free for the lifetime of the contract, so kind of going with them users, if we do need to train up another additional employee, feel free to give us a call. We're more than happy to get them trained up as well with tech support. Anytime you guys need any support, feel free to give us a call. All of our tech support staff is here on site. We offer free updates that are released, so we are going to have up-to-date software system all the time. We're never going to have to call us 4 or 5 years down the road and say, hey, looking across update our system and make it run a little slow. Pricing is based on population, and then we are a world-class net promoter with a score of 81. So that really goes to say, our customer service is top-notch. Most of your software companies, they come in at the 30 and 40 point range. iWork being an 81, we're just proud of that. We like to show all our potential customers. So really just jumping over into the software, just a real high-level overview of what we're going to be able to track within the building permit. So I'm going to come in here and just going to jump into the building permit module. Now coming into here, I'm going to jump into one that I've already got created, just kind of save some time, make that a little bigger so you guys can see that. Now really we're going to be able to tie this back to all the partial data. So with the historical data that you guys already currently have on spreadsheets, we're going to be able to have the ability to pull that into iWork. We're going to tie that back to the partial data. That way that gives a search history of all out of one page. They're going to be able to come down here and see a history of really what's gone on that entire property. So we can come into here, so they, being in a building permit, they can come into here, they can see all the history of any code enforcement cases that have gone on that property. They can come into here, they can see additional permits that have gone on that property, whether it be a historical permit or one that's currently in progress. If they want to see any information on the permit, all they've got to do is click on it. It's going to take them directly to that permit. They're going to be able to see any information or edit or add to that permit right from this one single page. So also any licensing, so any entities or licenses that they wanted to see if, a contractor's license, they can actually open this right from this single permitting page. All they've got to do is select which one they want, they open that up, and take them right to that license. Now, kind of moving ahead, all of this information that you're seeing across the top, this is all configurable information that's going to be on their current application. So we're going to bring that over into iWork. It's going to manage and track all that current information. These are all configurable fields. And then moving down, we're going to have the ability to track all the contractors. So we do have the ability over here to bring up a list of all the contractors. You're going to see in a list form all of the contractors. All you've got to do is select which one that's involved with this permit. It's going to add them directly to the permit. Once it's on the permit, all you've got to do just for contact information, all of the contact information, whether it be email, address, phone numbers. We're able to see any licenses that they hold. Once you click on that, it's going to show you the date that their license was issued, when it expires, the type of license, the number. Also moving down, if they have any employees that work for them, you guys have all that contact information there. We can track any supervisors, anything like that, as well as any permits that they're currently working with. It's going to show you a list of all the permits and any specific notes. So if you guys need to track any insurance information, and then you can upload all that important documents right to the contractor profile. Moving down, we can come in, we can track all fees. We're able to pull in a fee schedule. So with those fees, you can pull down fees. All they do is come over here, select that fee. We're going to pull in a list of all those fees. All they've got to do is select what fee goes with what permit. We're going to apply that right directly to the permit right here. Same as payments. Anytime a citizen or a contractor makes a payment, we do have the ability where if they do make a payment online, it's going to automatically track that within iWork. You're going to see that it's an online payment. If they come down here, once they do make a payment, they have the ability to print them off a receipt. They can either print that off or email that directly to the citizen. Now, if that online, that's gonna automatically send them an email and give them a receipt, plus it's gonna automatically show within iWork that they have made a payment online. I know a lot of the properties there are, some of the owners do not live in Long Beach, and so with the online portal, that's gonna give them ability to pay for any fees above any contractors that aren't local, they can actually pay them and feed those online there as well. Any inspections, any inspections that go with any type of permit, you're going to pull that inspection in. It's going to actually create a punch list of items that Lou has the ability to be out in the field, whether it be on his tablet or smartphone. He can submit these inspections out in the field. Once they all pass, he comes up here and he changes that inspection status from pending to pass. Once he hits save, it is live. So anybody that called in or gets on the portal, once he hits save, they're going to be able to see that that has been saved and move on to the next step if needed. On status change, once this goes from pending to pass, this can also automatically email the next step in the process as well. So once this is changed, you can set it up where it can automatically email an entire department or just an individual employee for the contractor or citizen. Moving down, we have the ability, they work a lot like the inspections, we can have any plan reviews. This way you can really schedule out any types of plan reviews. We do have the ability to pull in a set of digital plans as well. If you wanted to bring the digital plans in here, you can bring those out, that way you're not having to take multiple plans out. Any notes, any specific notes that go with this type of permit, you can track some notes here. Well, we have a portal messaging feature that the contractors and the internal staff can actually communicate through the portal without having to make phone calls and tie up any phones. So also any letters, you have the ability to create any type of letters that you guys are currently using, whether it be just a building permit, a CO. I'm going to show you an example here. This is what some of our building permits look like. I'm actually going to pull in all the information from the permit, show the status, what inspections are where, have the ability to put any particular notes. A fee shows you everything here, and then you have the ability to print or email that directly to the citizen or contractor there. So really that's just a real high level overview. We do have also a history. If there's any emails sent within the permit, you can track a history. It's going to show the date it was sent, who sent it, who was emailed to, what the permit or the subject was, and anything like that. And then with, any audits, you have the ability up here to see if there's always a history that's going to show, everything that's been done on that permit. So anybody that's deleted anything, anybody that's added anything, that's going to do a timestamp and say you modified it, what the status was, and then, how long was in that status there. So it does give a good history of, if anything does that get deleted, you can get in here and see what really went on. So really that's a high level overview of the permitting and shows how we can track contractors. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I don't think so. Anybody? Thanks.
In terms of the email, of course, I'm sorry, I'm on Zoom, Chad, you can't see me, but in terms of the email interface, when Lou does his emails, we have an in-house email framework. Will there be any way to, will he copy this software when he does one on our email server, or does it go the other way, or are they mutually exclusive?
They're going to be probably separate because it's mostly everything that's within iWork. So anything you email out of iWork is going to be, you can track that within iWork. But depending on who you're emailing that to, so it's not going to interact with the two, it's just going to really track what emails were sent outside or within iWork. So, great question there.
Any other questions?
Anything else there?
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you guys. I do appreciate you taking some time, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your evening.
Hey, thanks, Chad. I appreciate you taking the time away from your family here. It's, thanks.
Great, thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Chad.
You bet, not a problem.
We've got a contract that I think we've all seen with them.
Yes.
Chris, so given our financial circumstances, what's the
I think you can
implication?
approve it, yeah, I don't know if it's in that budget or whether you're gonna have to deal with the additional appropriation to, that's gonna be something you're gonna have to figure out outside this meeting, but I think you can approve this contract. I did review it as asked. There are 2 issues that I have with it, but I don't think that would stop you from approving it again with some caveats. One is venue, they have in there that if there's an issue in any enforcement mechanism, it's in the state of Utah. Well, in any contract, we want home court advantage, right? And another provision that if the town has to enforce that, an attorney's fee provision, be able to recoup your expenses, and that's usually mutual. So it's very bare bones, it's standard, just a couple, those are my recommendations, that if you were inclined to approve it, it would be subject to, one, making sure that we know where we are going financially because of this filing, but again, you can do that. And number 2, subject to those changes, and then authorizing Dr. LeMay once Lou and I are able to talk, and Larry, to the representatives, just to express those provision concerns.
Okay, so we tonight could approve it pending those 3 caveats: the venue, the lawyer's fees, and us being able to make appropriations.
Yeah, well, and the contract issues are easy. Those, I'm not worried about those, so you can approve it subject to those, having that discussion and making sure they return a contract with those provisions, authorizing you to be the signature along with the clerk witnessing your signature. And, obviously we'll convey to them, subject to the town finding out how you're getting the deal if it's not already budgeted for.
Just a couple of points here. This has been long overdue here. Since 6 or 7 years ago, when we really started to get a handle on the building commission, the paperwork volume has just increased massively, okay? So really, we went out looking for 2 modules, basically to run the building permits and to run the contractor registration. What he was talking about in terms of licensing is going to be configured into our registration process. The system comes with a portal where contractors will go online, enter their application online, enter their registration online, enter their plans online, and pay the fee through what they call PayLock, which is, I guess it's like a credit card, and the contractor pays 3% fee, we pay nothing.
They still have the option to bring in cash, right?
Oh, sure.
Cash still works.
Cash or check, yeah, sure. So they don't have to pay that way. So really, we looked at 4 companies. Amazingly enough, the one that fits the best is iWork, and it's the least expensive, which was amazing to me. But really, I don't want you to look at this as just software. This is really an operating system for the building commission. I mean, everything's going to run around this system here. And it's going to make a huge difference in how much time we all spend. And the information is going to be available to those that can see it. Now, in terms of privacy, we can't have every contractor looking at every contractor's building permit. Okay, the contractors will log in with their own password, and they and the owner of the property will be the only ones that can see, besides us, what's happening on the site. So, yeah.
So Lou, prior to this, who did the contractor's registration and who did the collection of fees, the permits? The clerk treasurer's office?
Deanna.
Deanna.
Yeah, she
So has she been involved in any of this to know what's going on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. She's pretty important. In fact, these 2
So
gals.
this will help her workload, right?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mary Lou, yes, what this does is it takes, right now, there are anywhere from 4 to 7 hands in a permit, registrations, drawings. They're not centrally located because of how the building department works. and the limitations in the actual building that you guys are in. This will consolidate that to everything will be done in one portal, so to say. And there will no longer be 4 or 5 hands in each permit and or registrations. And one important thing to note, and Chad kind of touched on it, is this is a fail-safe system. If you don't put if we determine it, iWorks doesn't determine that, we do, meaning either the town council or the building department. If we say you have to have these 7 steps to be able to submit a permit or submit a registration, and you don't have one of those steps done, it's not going to take your information. And that's one of the things, and I think Deanna is on here, that's one of the things that is really a big backlog here, because contractors have relied, Deanna's been fantastic over the years, and contractors have relied upon Deanna to fill in the blanks for them. And it's ridiculous that she has to do that. And she's very gracious and she helps everybody. So what we're trying to do here is get this process streamlined to the point where if everybody in the system of the building department was gone, got hit by or was on a bus somewhere, the building department could still move forward without a big hullabaloo.
Hey, Larry, a question for you. So I'm just going to use this as an example. A couple of years ago, the state of Indiana, previous to the change they made on handgun licensing in the state of Indiana, people would come into the police department, similar to building permits, and we would fill out their information. We would do all the data entry on a desktop PC in the office. They would provide us a driver's license, everything. So then the state of Indiana went to an online portal called ARES. And it required everybody to then, if they wanted a handgun permit, they must go online, they must complete every step like what you're saying, unless if they did not complete it, it would kick it back to them, and then once completed, it would come to us. What's going to be the policy of the building commission moving forward? Are we going to have a zero tolerance? Are we going to have an information sheet to give to the actual contractor telling them we no longer do them in person? Here's how you go on the portal and they do it. That's just one of the hurdles I see with this type of change. I'm in favor of it because I'm a firm believer in having this data saved to the cloud and having one central area to find all of it. I'm just curious how we're going to communicate this change to the contractors, of which we know some of them, there's also a language barrier with some of our contractors that come into the town hall. That was just a question.
So, Mark, it's a great question, and there is obviously going to be a transitional period, which whether you want to call it transitional or a grace period, we would still, and maybe this would make sense if I explain it this way. Right now, our records, let's call it registration and building permit records, are in Excel spreadsheets. We will duplicate that. While all that information goes to iWorks, they populate our new package with all that history information. And to your point about if somebody doesn't know how to fill it out or gets into a jam, you're very correct. It's going to spit it back to them. But during a transitional period, we will still do paper. I would like to say no, but I don't think that's reasonable. From a standpoint of notifying the contractors, that's what you and I can't remember who else had some discussion, I know Deanna and Honor, about our email blast list. And that's being, K Plus is working on that with us, so that we'll be able to put all that information in there. And during the previous conversation on another issue tonight, or John mentioned, on this issue about the emails, whether or not they'll sync. We're going to have to run it together with the K Plus situation where we will blast every contractor and explain to them in fairly significant detail what we're doing and explain to them, if we want to put a 6-month, we want to put a 12-month, whatever we want to do, 2 months, cap on if you hit this line, much like you said about the gun permits, I don't know how long transition period, and maybe I should talk to you about it. How long did you or the state give the municipalities some leeway to work still back and forth with paper? We would have to do that. A lot of drawings are voluminous, but you know, it is much quicker for all of us to get the drawings by PDF. It just streamlines the process. We still have one or two individuals that like to have paper copies, and that's something that we would probably have to discuss. I hope that answered your question. I mean, we're not going to be bullies and point and say, hey, your seat's at the table now, and you guys pony up.
No, I appreciate that, and I hope that, Chad has some maybe informational brochures or, something that can be shared with us, and we can educate our contractors and definitely have that transitional period. And, maybe we shoot for like the fourth quarter of this year to, have everything up and running in that. But definitely, I just wanted to share, we need to have a communication plan to the contractors, because I see it often in the town hall. There's confusion when they come in trying to complete some of these documents.
Right, and that's so true, the confusion that happens, because do I need this, do I not need this? And we hope that this program, or this software, this package, will negate most of that indecision or wrong decisions, wrong information being presented to everybody. And the whole reason why I got on, or the building department got on asking for an email blast list was for this very purpose, so that we could start, as soon as we could get that blast list through K-Plus, starting to inform these people, if you guys approve this, starting to inform all of our registered contractors, architects, everyone else, and even the people in the town, of what we're doing and how we would like to see it proceed. And there's really going to be some training. We've even discussed having a training either in a Zoom meeting and or in person, so that we can have any contractor get on with us and go through it.
These guys have been doing this for a lot of years, 21 years. They know how to speak to contractors. I mean, when it comes down to it, our contractor registration, there's really no instructions, okay? You have to be told to go to this step and that step and that step. iWork has really simple instructions on how to do that stuff.
So Lou, just as an example, if I wanted to do something at my house and I had a registered contractor, then they would go online and fill out all the forms.
Today, either or can fill out a building application.
Okay.
Yes.
But whatever happens, if it's your house, you're gonna enter a password, and you're gonna be able to see inspections as they're completed. So it's all available to you.
Okay, no, I just want to know, because I'm with the chief. There's a lot of times, especially our residents are older, some are even older than me, and this would be tough for them. So I could see Deanna helping them, lead them through this in the beginning, or the contractor.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No doubt.
And then once they have it, they love it. But yeah, they're intimidated by it.
Sure.
Definitely a transition period.
Yes.
It's new, it's changed.
Yes.
And by the way, we might mention that we talked to not only the 4 suppliers, but when we got it down to the final 2, we met with other towns that have that software. And one in particular was the unincorporated LaPorte County. And they have 80,000, I think that was it 80,000 transactions a year that go through their software.
Wow.
And it's definitely a transition period, but it works well.
Well, they're with one of the vendors we chose to dump, and they're having still a bad time with it over there in LaPorte County. People are very unhappy about it.
Okay.
And we did speak to 2 towns, we did speak to a couple towns in Indiana, Hanover, I forget, and they're very happy with our.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we did a little digging.
We've talked to LaPorte too, right?
Oh yeah, LaPorte is who?
Yes, we actually met with the 3 people that in unincorporated LaPorte County personally who are responsible for the software and the building department.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, we got a lot of work in front of us.
Yes,
So I'll make a motion to approve this contract with the 3 caveats that we discussed half hour ago.
the venue of Indiana,
Yep.
the attorney's fees,
And our
Permission.
ability to make appropriations.
and appropriations.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? John Wall,
I'm in favor.
John Coker,
I'm in favor.
Mike Johnstone,
Aye.
Mary Lou.
Aye.
I'm in favor. Okay, next.
Whee, thanks.
Building Department Secretary responsibility slash workstation.
There you go, chief.
Did she,
What's that?
I think Dan already has that, hold on.
Hey, Dr. Lemon.
Everybody has a,
That won't be the one, so.
Yeah, that's gonna be changed, right? So really,
I will get with Lou and we'll submit with this.
okay, let me give this to you now.
Okay, Deanne's got one,
Give it to Lou.
Chris. Deanne's got one here.
But yeah, that's gotta be changed.
You can have that, just so you have.
Is that incorrect too?
All the same, yes.
Yeah, but
Okay.
don't give that back to I work Q.
no, we gotta
wanna change.
fix the things he's got a problem
Yeah.
with.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hold on, all set?
Yes.
Thank you for your approval.
Thank you.
so Building Department Secretary responsibility slash workstation. So I understand that the request was for Honor to go to full-time and to work at the community center. Is that essentially right? Do we have Larry still? No.
Ms. Larry.
Lou, is that? Oh, there's Larry.
Yes, Bob, that's correct. To implement the software, Honor's been working with Deanna on the registration. We're gonna start on the building permit side, working with Deanna. And so her hours are gonna increase. Basically, she will become, I think you guys all got that email I sent out to everybody, but Honor would become the administrative end of the building department. And I'm pretty confident that that's gonna be a lot more than 20 hours a week for a significant period of time.
Larry, she's already working 70 hours every 2 weeks. Correct?
This week,
Yeah.
like 72 hours.
72 hours she put in for 2 weeks.
For the building department,
Correct.
I think she's doing a lot more work on other things, but
She's not working in the water side.
Well, we've been working on this project, pretty intensely.
Yeah,
So
but
she's already, you know,
Okay.
putting hours in for this project. I couldn't tell you what her hours are either.
I wasn't aware of that, Mary Lou. I was under the understanding that that was an issue, that she could only work 20 hours for us. So if that's not an issue, that's fine. That's great.
I guess one concern I have is that, you know, one of the principles we've kind of had with that office is we'd like the girls to be able to work together when one person doesn't have anything to do and the other person's overwhelmed, that they can help one another out. Working at the community center isn't going to work very well for that. Is there a real need for her to be at the community center? Or, you know, the other possible thing is if a contractor comes in and wants to pay cash, you're gonna have to go from the community center all the way over here. That doesn't seem very efficient, because the clerk treasurer's office is still gonna have to take the money, right?
right.
Well, a lot's gonna be a lot.
Yes, when you move to the software, money will not change hands at all. It will all be done through the software itself. But yes, and Bob, I was of the understanding and led to believe that there is no room for honor in the town building. If there is room for honor in the town building, in the building department, then certainly it doesn't, I mean, this isn't a, you have to be at the community center. I mean, if there is room there, that's fine.
Well, the clerk's office is usually empty.
Yeah, she can be in there.
So I think, you know, I think we can make arrangements for that. I guess as far as full-time, this is a job that's going to evolve. We don't know how much time this computer system or this system is going to take away from it. I guess I'm wondering if we shouldn't be flexible. I mean, I hate to label this job as full-time,
Right.
especially given that we're hoping that the computer system is going to allow this to be much more efficient and not require all that time.
Yes, absolutely, Bob. It's not, I guess not being involved with government finance or whatever, I wasn't aware that there was an issue with part-time, full-time, how a person is categorized. So my intention was just to inform you as the town council that this will be more than the 20 hours a week that I was led to believe that was allotted for us. That's it. As far as flexibility is concerned, I wholeheartedly agree. I think it will be very labor intense in the first several months because of getting trained, getting everything into the software, and then after that, that's the whole reason that we wanted to do this, was to get it to taper off so that we could be much more efficient.
I'd like to see.
Larry, Mike, who is she going to be reporting directly to?
I'm assuming, I don't know who she reports to now.
She reports to the clerk treasurer,
Okay.
because he has to clerical people, yeah.
I don't know how that works, Mary Lou and Mike. I don't know. I mean, I'd be happy to have her report to me and be responsible for it. I just don't know how you guys operate.
I think, I'm talking, it would be better if they all report to the same person here, because when Renee isn't busy, which is not very often, she helps out in other departments, and I know Deanna does, and I know that Lynn's pretty well focused on the water side. But I would like to know, we've asked Tim for, ever since on her, I would like to see what her set hours are. I think she could probably work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 2. And then if it requires more time, if she kept a log of what it required, I think that would be sufficient. But I think we need to have a set number of hours that we know when the person's going to be here, so the contractors can come in and register with them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so if we set our hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 2, can you live with that? And then if we see a demand for more, Lo, you're wincing, is that wrong?
Yeah, well, certainly for the first 7 months or 12 months, I don't know what's going to be. There's a lot of training.
And if it requires more than that, but I think if we knew what the hours were, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 2, and that's all she's required to work, and then if Larry said we need more time, but if we knew what they were doing, because the rest of them all have a set job and they're doing things, so I think, can you live with that?
Maybe that may well work once we get set up and running.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And if somebody comes in on a Tuesday, they can leave their application and their check if they choose to, or whatever, in Deanna's box.
Okay.
So,
Well, one thing that's important, the building department, and I'll give you a pretty brief history of what's happened in the last several years. 7 years ago, our building department barely functioned. So what we have now is we have a fully functioning building department that is the same as Michigan City, LaPorte, any other small town as well. Things are done, they're done according to state code, and I don't agree to limit her to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I don't, that's what I'm asking you guys. I'm asking you guys. Somebody told me, and I think it was Tim, that I was approved for 20 hours. And I don't think that we're going to be able to implement the software and take on the responsibilities that Deanna does for stuff right now into 20 hours a week. And that's what my point was, and that was in the email. That this is going to turn into, she's going to become the administrative end of the building department, no less, and I'm not trying to compare the building department with the police department, but no less than what Renee does with the police department. So she would be the point of contact, she would be, in the physical location doesn't matter to
Okay,
us.
well, okay, then if we did the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 to 4, and then like Lou said, if they came in on a Tuesday and Thursday, I think that would work. And then come back and said we need more hours. But right now, Deanna's still doing the scanning, taking the money and doing all of that.
Right, and she shouldn't be, and that's part of the problem. We have so many hands in the building department. How an application gets processed, it's not good. It's not a streamlined process. Deanna's done a wonderful job, and she still is doing a wonderful job.
And she,
But from my
Deanna takes it,
understanding, Tim,
Yes.
who's been my contact, Deanna shouldn't be doing all that stuff.
Okay, well then somebody needs to train on her so that she can do it, but I think she could probably, if we set her hours Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 to 4, then she could live with that. And then if you think that we're not getting everything done, then we could go back and look at it.
Okay, so then does that mean that if a contractor comes in or a resident comes in on a Tuesday or Thursday, that we tell them to come back on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday?
Lou said they could leave their paperwork there and she could get back with them.
Well, hopefully we're gonna teach these guys how to.
Yeah, hopefully
what
we'll teach them
applications
how to do the applications. But I think right now, when is contractor registration over? Early March?
It goes all year long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody.
Well, Deanna said there's a real, when I was in here the other day sitting with her, she said there's like a timeline in March where then it quiets down.
It does quiet down. What happens is there's an initial thrust of registrations because we send a card out in December. And then most people come in and register. We used to penalize people as well as other towns used to penalize people if they didn't register for the year by March 31st. Ours is $65. Then it would go up to $80.
Okay.
But that really doesn't work because a lot of times the contractor will only register if they're coming in and they don't have a job until June in Long Beach, then they register. We have contractors come in at the end of November and pay the registration for the year from November to December because they get a job. So the contractor registration never stops. The building permits, this is a service part of our town. I think people are going to expect if they come in or if they want to apply for a permit, they're not going to only come in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you guys want to limit on only working those 3 days,
Yeah.
I think you're probably, maybe not the building department, but you guys are probably going to hear about it more so than we will.
How about 5 days a week, 8 till noon? Is that, you guys get up early?
That's fine.
I think that
I think we're trying to expand a responsibility to have an administrative assistant, not limit it.
Yep. Right, and if we find that we need more hours, we can expand
That's
it.
perfect. But, and as Larry, as you said, and I think we all need to commend Deanna, she's done a lion's share of the work and she takes it very personally and has done a fine record keeping. So 8 to 12.
8 to 12, 5 days, and that way she can work with Deanna.
Right.
Because Deanna's been doing this, they can talk about how this is working. And then if somebody does wander in the afternoon, they could be told to come back in the morning. And Deanna, they can
And
drop
we'll convey that. And even outside of the software, we want to convey, which goes back to the K+ last email list, we want to convey. Right now, we don't have this opportunity or an avenue to be able to contact all the contractors. We want to be able to do that. I want to be able to personally send a notice to all the plumbers. I may want to send a notice, or Lou may want to send a notice to excavators. We don't have that capability right now. We want that outside of the software. We want to let these contractors know, here's what's coming. You have to come in here now, when you guys are saying, you have to come in here between 8 and noon, 5 days a week, so that we're educating these people on how to operate. And Deanna has, we had a meeting, with Joe Jockman, Deanna, and myself, and I'm, I don't know, November, September, October, whatever, to start the process, or maybe it was December, to start the process of Honor becoming involved in getting trained. So we've been training Honor for this position in the last several months.
Okay.
and Deanna, I think she may be on, she worked with us to help train Honor, and that's going to continue. This isn't something that we're just dropping Honor's back.
Okay. Well, that sounds fair, thank you.
Larry, just something to add too, because I believe in having cross-training, and it would be nice, so if there's an illness, there's a leave of absence, a vacation, that Deanna is also trained, at least on, preliminary stuff related to this. One of the caveats of the software is unlimited licenses, users.
Yes.
So there's no problem having Deanna as a user. So my recommendation to the building commission would be that we have Deanna, so that if the contractor comes in afternoon, between noon and 4, she can answer the basic questions, or refer them to come back tomorrow between 8 and 12. We'll have all this covered, because Deanna's here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I think between the cross-training and the interworking relationships in the office, we can accomplish all of this. So.
Absolutely, Mark. Our intention is, and we even discussed at the meeting with the iWorks people, that even if you people as council members wish to be involved in some lightweight training so that you understand, if you want to go and look around. We don't want too many people to be able to massage data because they'll get fouled up, but we do want people to understand and know how to use the software so that you can, in turn, let other people. So yeah, cross-training is a definite.
Thanks, Larry.
Advantage.
I think also in terms of the organizational chart, Honor should probably report to Mark.
I think so too.
Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
So we're talking reporting to Mark. She'll work 5 days a week, 8 to 12. If we need more, we'll increase it. And then she'll work here, and that way she can collaborate with the other girls in the office.
That's a good
Is
suggestion.
that,
Can I make a comment?
Yep.
I've made, hello?
We hear you.
Can I make,
You're good.
hello?
We got you.
We can hear you.
All right, so my concern with this discussion, which we've had on numerous occasions over the last year, is I don't believe the council should be involved in dictating hours of department heads for their people. If Honor is, there seems to be, and we've all known about the problem we've had with, individuals in various sort of capacities, either not doing certain things or doing not enough of certain things, or there was some confusion about who they reported to. I thought we tried to hammer some of that out with the organizational chart like a year ago. I don't think it's the council's responsibility to dictate work hours to department heads. We don't do it with the police department, we don't do it with the street department, we don't do it with the water department. All those department heads have freedom to use their people within their budgets to see to their, whatever needs they have, and it's their purview. I don't think we need to get into the weeds as far as we're trying to go. I think that the department heads have the responsibility within their budgets to pay their people, or rather to dictate the hours for their people. I don't think it's necessary for us to get down to the weeds. That's just me.
Yeah, I guess when talking department heads, so you're equating Larry to the department head as building commissioner?
No.
Yeah, because I mean,
Well,
I like Larry, but he's a contract employee, right?
No, we just had a huge discussion about all the responsibilities of the building department. And we've now come up with a solution and a long-term improvement in their efficiency with purchasing software. So why are we screwing around dictating hours? I mean, if Honor works for the building commissioner or whatever, you just, I think I understood you to say that that's the organizational chart, or we're heading to the organizational chart, and she'll report to the building commissioner.
No, she should report to Mark.
So we brought to Mark.
In terms of HR, she should report to Mark.
Which is going to be slightly confusing because Mark's got no responsibility on the building commission. So again, we seem to be muddying our situation quite a bit here.
Well, and if we find that these 20 hours a week that we've suggested, because again, I think this is a suggestion.
Correct.
Isn't enough, Mark or Larry can go to Mark and say, we need more, and this is where I suggest we put her in. I mean, I think we can be flexible with this.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Why are we at that level of detail? Mark and Larry can hammer it out themselves, and if Tim needs an employee that's involved in any of this for some hours, then they can hammer it out themselves. I don't think it's It's
Well-
something the council agreed.
One concern is that this employee has put in 72 hours in 2 weeks, and she was authorized to work 20 hours a week. So there needs to be somebody looking over this.
Yeah, but when did we ever authorize 20 hours a week?
I don't have the date, but
That's
we
what the
did.
employee, when we hired her,
Yeah.
it was up to 20 hours a week. She's a general
Who,
part-time.
when you say that, when did that ever happen? Who,
When we hired her, that was the hiring process, John. That's what it said.
the number of hours that are required by the person she reports.
It said up to 20 hours a week. It's called the general part-time. When you go into anything more than that, then you're looking at different benefits and perks, and then we go over budget. So I'm fine with her reporting to Mark. I think it'll work out.
I am as well.
How much money is the building commission, Larry, making, building permit fees and other income? I sit on that council and I see $5,000, $10,000 a month coming in from the permits. I mean, it's almost
Yes.
for itself, isn't it?
Last year, we took in, I think, around $110,000 in permit fees.
Well, John, if you're gonna do,
I would have to ask Deanna, or Tim, whoever keeps that record, how much we took in electrical fees. It could be another $10,000, so, you've got.
And how much does the building department cost the town? We gotta pay the building inspector, the building commissioner. What else do we pay?
We don't pay anybody else.
Well, then there ought to be plenty of money to pay for a secretary or administrator or whatever you wanna call
we didn't say there wasn't, John, but if you're gonna use that analysis, then Deanna should be making a lot more money if you took in 110,000 last year.
Yeah, Deanna, I don't know
Deanna,
if
We
it's the-
analyze salaries differently than we analyze department heads and their responsibility. All I'm saying is, it seems like we gotta try to follow some sort of procedure on how people handle their people in their departments. That's all I'm suggesting. It seems to be like we don't need to be down at that level. Let these people run their show.
Do we need a motion to make a suggestion? Or, I don't think we do we? Well, except if we're changing the organizational chart to
We
have
do
Mark.
because of Tim.
To have Mark be in charge.
Well, first of all, what is she hired as? Is she Tim's employee or is she not Tim's employee?
She's right now gonna be working full-time for the building department.
Well, 8 to 12. 5
Well,
days.
I'm talking not full-time,
She's
all
still
of
gonna
it.
have duties, because I just wanna remind you, if she's under Tim's purview,
Yeah.
Tim has control.
Yeah.
His staff, his office.
Right, no.
I don't think she has any responsibilities for the clerk treasurer's office.
So she's just working water department stuff too?
No.
Or is she doing-
She doesn't do anything to
So
watch.
she's strictly now, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think you can make those recommendations of what you're going to do. And
Okay,
it's
so
gonna be a work in progress.
I'll just make a motion that we change the organizational chart, that Honor reports to Mark, and that our suggestion is that she work, for starters, 5 days a week, 8 to 12. If that's not enough, Mark, Larry can talk to
Larry
Mark,
will tell Mark.
and they can change that, but at least then there's some supervision there.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay?
It's okay with me if it's.
Any other discussion? John
I
Wall?
mean, I should have a report to Larry.
Larry's not an employee and he's not an elected official.
Well, does Larry report to Mark too then? I just want to know.
Larry report,
Go to
Larry's the
bed,
building
John, and
commissioner.
when back, it's 9:40.
Yeah, I know what time it is.
All right. So we'll do the vote again. John Wall?
What's the money?
The motion.
On an organizational chart only, I'm fine with that. I don't want to dictate work hours to.
Right, and we're not dictating, we're simply suggesting, and Larry
Right.
and Mark can change that if they want to.
The only thing I'm voting in favor of is the organizational chart change.
All right, let's do this, let's split it up then. Organizational chart. John Wall, you're in favor? John Coker?
I'm in favor.
Mike Johnstone?
Aye.
Mary Lou?
Aye.
I'm in favor. All right, next motion is that we suggest that she work 5 days a week from 8 to 12, and that can be, if that's not adequate, that can be hammered out between Larry
And
and
Mark.
That's my motion. Is there a second?
There's a second.
Any other discussion? John Wall?
Not in favor.
Okay. John Coker?
I don't think I agree with that either.
Mike Johnstone.
Aye.
Mary Lou.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay. I've got no other agenda items. Any public comments?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Larry.
Anita Remages, 2300 Florida. Chief, first of all, thank you for your comments about Clerk Treasurer Tim Perry. You're in this building, you see who comes and goes, you see when he's here, when he's not here. You see what's happening with the employees, the morale, and I thank you for being upfront and honest. It's my belief that Tim Perry was brought in as a gotcha moment to some council members and some residents following the November 2019 election. It was kind of a watch this after 4 years of looking at town issues, building commission issues with Tim Perry and 1802 Lakeshore Drive. And different parties were perceived to be in control, and I just think that this was a kind of a payback. Shame on you for whoever is responsible for bringing him, an unqualified person, into the town and involving him in the finances of the town. I look at the council table, and maybe I'm wrong, but it was my understanding that people were, that there were people who brought him to the attention of the Republican Party. I believe it was you, Mary Lou, it may have been Mr. Johnstone, it may have been Mr. Coker. I'm thinking about who was at the swearing in. I look behind me, and I think Ernie Summers and Bob Boyce were at the swearing in. Mary Lou, you distanced yourself since May, and I think smartly so. So thank you for what you've done to keep control of the situation. Mr. Johnstone, you mentioned you would rather see an aggressive, proactive approach rather than reactive. Certainly, Tim Perry's incompetency has been brought before this council for months, not just recently, for several months, in the year that he's been here. And you chose to ignore it. The council let him characterize his issues early on as a vendetta by Dr. LeMay. I think that you have to recall that Mr. Johnstone and Mr. Coker, you just within the past 2 months voted to increase Mr. Perry's salary from $36,400 to $50,000. When that was defeated by a vote of 3-2, you then proposed an increase to $48,000. And again, shame on you. You've seen what's been happening. You call on your banking background, and shame on you for what has been allowed to happen in this town. Where was Tim Perry on Saturday? He wasn't here. He was at the Shelf Ice Beer Fest. So, you know, he just continues to push it in our faces. It's not a personal vendetta, it's incompetency. And I do think that you need to take responsibility. I've said this in the past. You brought him here. I appreciate that you all said, oh, vote of no confidence. As Mr. Coker said, I don't see what difference it makes. It makes a big difference. I mean, finally, take some responsibility. Say he's incompetent. Say you brought him in. Say that you wanted to give him $50,000. Let him know that you don't want him here anymore, and maybe the people that brought him in can convince him to leave and let the town keep its financial stability. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Any other public comments on Zoom? Any council comments?
Will they raise their hand?
Yeah, if
Okay.
they're not raising their hand, we're good. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 If you, are you